The most famous job application in history is 10 paragraphs long. Its author lists what he can do for the Duke of Milan: portable bridges, siege engines, cannon, armored wagons, tunnels under rivers, 9 paragraphs of war machines, numbered like a menu. Only in the final lines does he add, almost as an afterthought, "Also, I paint, and I can do that as well as any man alive." The year is 1482. The applicant is 30 years old, illegitimate, with no university degree, and a workshop record of brilliant, abandoned projects. His name is Leonardo da Vinci, the man who will leave behind fewer than 20 finished paintings, 2 of which will become the most looked-at images on Earth, and more than 7,000 pages of notes he never showed a soul. This is the story of why the greatest mind of the Renaissance finished almost nothing, and why that was almost the point. He was born in 1452 near the hill town of Vinci, outside Florence, the illegitimate son of a notary and a peasant woman. That single fact set the course of his life. As an illegitimate child, he was barred from university and from his father's profession. No Latin, no Aristotle, no degree. The entire inherited library of medieval Europe was closed to him. He later turned the insult into a title. He called himself a disciple of experience. If the books were locked, he would read the world directly. A word about where he landed, because it explains what he became. Renaissance Florence ran on the workshop, the bodega, part studio, part factory, part engineering firm. At 14, he entered the workshop of Verrocchio, where the same hands cast bronze, built festival machines, and painted altarpieces. There was no wall between art and engineering. A master was expected to do both. Leonardo simply took that assumption more seriously than anyone before or since. Milan hired the military engineer, and for 17 years, Leonardo served the Sforza court as designer of everything: weapons, canals, pageants, stage machinery. And one legend-sized commission: a bronze horse, 4 times life-size, 70 tons of metal, the largest equestrian statue ever attempted to glorify the Duke's father. Leonardo spent years on it. He studied horses the way he studied everything, measuring, dissecting, drawing hundreds of sheets. In 1493, he unveiled the full-size clay model, and contemporaries called it one of the wonders of the age. Then France invaded. The 70 tons of bronze was sent away to be cast into cannon instead, and when French troops took Milan in 1499, their archers used the great clay horse for target practice until it fell apart in the rain. Years of work destroyed by weather and boredom. Remember the horse. It is the pattern of his whole career in one object. The preparation was superhuman, the study total, and the monument never arrived. In the same Milan years, he painted the one big thing he did finish, and even that was a slow-motion catastrophe. For the dining hall of a monastery, he painted the Last Supper, 13 figures at the instant Christ says, "One of you will betray me." Every apostle reacts differently: shock, denial, calculation, grief, a psychology lecture in paint. But true fresco must be painted fast, on wet plaster, section by section, and Leonardo refused to work that way. He wanted to revise, to layer, to think. So he invented his own technique, painting on dry wall like a panel. It gave him time, and it did not hold. The paint began flaking within 20 years. A visitor in 1560 called the painting already half ruined. Here is the question that splits his admirers to this day. Is that a tragedy or a signature? He traded permanence for the freedom to keep changing his mind. He made that trade every time. Now open the part of his life nobody at the time could see, the notebooks. More than 7,000 surviving pages, and scholars think that is perhaps half of what he wrote, in tight mirror script running right to left, readable only against a glass. Not a diary. An investigation of everything. Why the sky is blue. How a bird's wing loads the air. The valves of the heart, drawn from more than 30 human dissections, sketched with an accuracy cardiac surgeons still admire. Fossils on mountaintops, which he correctly read as ancient seabeds, not Noah's flood. Flying machines, diving suits, self-propelled carts. The mirror writing was probably not code. He was left-handed and dragging ink right to left smears, but the privacy was real. He published none of it. Not one page in his lifetime. The most advanced scientific mind in Europe, and its entire output stayed in a trunk. Hold that thought, because it is the exact center of both his greatness and his failure. Back in Florence in his 50s, the city government engineered the most famous artistic duel in history. Leonardo on one wall of the council hall, and on the facing wall, a hostile young sculptor named Michelangelo, 23 years younger, openly contemptuous of the old master's habit of not finishing. Leonardo began the Battle of Anghiari, a whirlwind of horses and rage that other artists came just to copy. Then he did it again, another experimental technique. This time the paint ran and he walked away. Michelangelo never even started his side, summoned to Rome by the Pope. Two of the greatest images of the Renaissance, and both walls ended up empty. But something else happened in those same Florence years. Quietly, on a portable panel he refused to hand over, a portrait of a silk merchant's wife. He carried it with him, retouching it for the rest of his life, layering translucent glazes until the corners of her mouth and eyes blur exactly the way living faces do. He never delivered it. It is called the Mona Lisa, and it may be the only work he considered genuinely his. In the end, the only patron who understood what Leonardo actually was a foreigner. In 1516, the young French King Francis I gave the 64-year-old a manor house at Amboise, a generous pension, and a title with no deliverables attached. First painter, engineer, and architect of the king. His actual job, a visitor recorded, was conversation. The king simply wanted to be near that mind. Leonardo crossed the Alps on a mule with 3 paintings in his baggage, one of them the Mona Lisa and his trunks of notebooks. He designed festivals and a palace that was never built, drew apocalyptic storms, and organized his notes for books he knew he would not finish. He died at Amboise in May 1519, at 67. The paintings stayed in France, which is why the Mona Lisa hangs in Paris. The notebooks scattered across Europe, and humanity spent the next 3 centuries slowly rediscovering what one man had already known. So what did Leonardo know? Spartacus last time could win any battle and had nowhere to arrive. Leonardo is the same tragedy turned inside out. He had somewhere to arrive at every moment, the next question, and so he never declared victory at all. His secret was a skill he named himself, saper vedia, knowing how to see. Not talent, not inspiration, the trained refusal to look at anything the way you were told it looks. That refusal made him the greatest observer who ever lived, and it also made him almost incapable of finishing, because to finish is to stop looking. And here is the warning folded inside the gift. The notebooks held the future, flight, anatomy, geology, and because he never shipped them, they moved nothing. The world had to reinvent almost all of it. Fewer than 20 paintings, 7,000 silent pages. Seeing is the rarest skill, and it is worth nothing to anyone else until you hand it over. Look like Leonardo, then, unlike him, publish. Next time, a man who pointed a new instrument at the night sky, wrote down exactly what he saw, published it, and found out what the world does to people who do. Galileo. Subscribe and step into the minds that made history.